I'm going ahead. This has started. We are doing competition listening things. Yeah, yeah. Hello, people. Hello, Creed specifically, since you seem to be really into this whole thing. So yeah, just to clarify, there won't be any winners or anything announced in this stream or anything. We're just going to be listening to all the submissions. Give some feedback as to just how they did, voice acting wise, general quality wise. Maybe mention a little snippet or two of the actual thing that might have something to do with the story or whatever. We're going to very sneakily somewhere at some point during the stream mention some very tiny lore things to force radio to listen to this whole stream afterwards. And yeah, we've got, how many we've got? That was it? How many submissions we get?
13.
Wait, no. 13, I think.
Yeah, 13.
Yeah.
13, yeah.
Yeah, so we've got 13 submissions to go through. And the general idea, which at some point after the stream, there's going to be a whole voting channel opened up to the public on the server, and there's going to be voting for the people, and everyone apart from the participants can vote, and apart from anyone who's joined the server today and onwards, because we want to avoid people using alt accounts or just inviting a bunch of people who will never be parts of the server to just come in and vote for them. So if you've been on the server at any point before today, then it's fine, you can vote. If you've joined today at any point after, you can't vote in this particular competition. And yeah, it's just what's the first one we got there on the list? Is it just alphabetical?
I think it is just alphabetical, yeah.
I sorted in order of the page numbers, but also just in case anyone doesn't know, I am Skytis, the guy that has been talking the entire time is Teras, and the third voice you hear is Egg.
Yes. Me and Egg are the people who actually wrote the stories that all the voice actors are narrating, and Skytis is just our wonderful friend who just so happens to stream regularly, and he's providing us a space to stream this and have people listen stuff. And afterwards, this will become a VOD, and we're going to pay Skytis in JPEGs of beans to put timestamps and everyone's names on the VOD. I'm sure Skytis didn't know that, but that's not optional.
I was told I'm getting paid in NFTs. In Nest of Horrors NFTs, to be specific.
Oh, not on NFTs. You get banned for those.
I'm good to start.
Yeah, let's play the first one, which I presume is the page we're currently on.
Yes, it is by...
And by go on.
Yeah, I'm gonna butcher all the names.
That's good.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Yeah, I'll just go with Berd.
Yeah.
Berd, yes.
Berd.
Right. I'm just gonna mute myself so you can all just listen to the wonderful voice acting.
Is it playing?
No, for some reason it refuses to. Let me try again.
Wow. We're very prepared, as you can see.
Oh yeah, very
3
professional.
in 1 and 1 in 3. Tower, peer, and gaze at me. Muted features beam with joy. Spin me round, a children's toy. Lack of faces on 3 points. Twist my bones and break my joints. Twirl my spine around the base at a gentle, soothing pace. On this box I dance and smile, an unmoving, joyous trial, shaped with pleasure from their wit, my newest form a perfect fit. Frozen grin, upon my head. To cruel unlife I'm truly wed. My free will a deadly pox. My new body a music box.
Well, seeing as how this is one of Egg's tales, would you like to give us your first impressions?
Yeah, right. Yeah. I mean, I'll warn in advance. We haven't really discussed how we're going to do this at all. So this isn't
we really haven't. We're just
totally freeform. Yeah. Yeah, I like it. Audio quality is very nice. It's pretty smooth and crisp. As well, with a lot of the stories I've written, they're very much written in the perspective of the characters themselves, but the poems are a little bit different. And obviously, when you're writing poetry, I mean, you may or may not know this, but the person writing it generally has a kind of an idea in their head of how they think it should be read aloud. You're kind of going to a rhythm, and yeah, this is perfect. Honestly, it's kind of exactly what I envisioned when I was writing it. Yeah, generally, I mean, obviously it's a short one. There's not really much to say about it, but yeah, really solid, enjoyable.
Yeah, I'd agree. It was surprisingly enough, for being the shortest one of all the stories being read, it's still not. It's I don't think it's even the shortest length audio clip we've got. But it doesn't feel like it's been dragged on in anything. It's been read at a nice pace. So.
Yeah, I mean,
that's quite right.
I will say I'm not as involved in all this lore, so I can't evaluate that as well. I will say I like the pacing overall. As Teras mentioned, it was slow, but it didn't feel like a drag. It makes sense to put the emphasis behind all the words, and it just felt like it was very it wasn't very monotonous. There, it was at a semi-volume level, which is good. There's not just random outbursts of volume and then just whisper quiet that you can't hear. So volume-wise, it's very consistent in a good way, but there's still, you can hear the emphasis on certain words to really get the points across and articulate the thoughts. So yeah, I agree. This is a nice starting point.
Yeah, it's good. That's good. So it seems like we're all in more or less agreement then. We might as well just move on to the next one.
Okay.
What we got next?
Is there an easy way to jump to a specific page other than scrolling?
Click the story name on the left.
I don't know. I don't know which page number.
It's included. Yeah, right. Okay. We've made this as easy for you as we can. I swear to God.
I am the. Let's not go there. All right. Next one by Mangoci.
Yeah, I've got quite high hopes for this one, as for anyone who's not been around since the early days of the server. We used to have a podcast, which is, by the way, still exists under the same name as the server, which used to just do short stories we found on places like No Sleep and creepypastas and stuff like that. And Mangoci is one of the voice actors who actually used to be on the actual podcast, so. And we were quite strict with things like acting and audio quality, so this one, I've got personally quite high hopes for this one.
Right, now that you've hyped it up to an impossible to reach level.
Also, I'm pretty sure this person is also German, so you might recognize the accents, guys.
Oh no. Okay, this one is already disqualified. Alright, let's go.
Curiosity is a strange thing. A roiling mass of desire, compressed into potential energy. A powerful drive to push forward the sapient mind into the unknown. It's perverse when you think about it. Fear of the unknown is key to survival. Our animal instincts dictate that we should learn and then stick to what we have learned. When they remade me, they stitched my mind back together with their abominable Fred. I suppose that a whole and functional mind was more conducive to the new purpose for me. I no longer watch, but rather observe. One might ponder that the two are one and the same. However, I would counter that observation is so much more. Sound, taste, touch, memories. Observation paints a much more orderly picture than simply watching. My form is not corporeal, and my human emotions are no longer what they were. I still understand what they are, however, they do not govern me any longer. Instead, I feel an immeasurable void that can only be filled with knowledge, or in other words, curiosity. I flit between humans, evoking unease and disgust, harvesting thoughts and memories sporadically. I've no purpose or direction, yet my insatiable lust for new horizons accelerates my search as time passes time. Perhaps this feeling of growing strength is a placebo. Some small shred of hope that I can regain my humanity. However, deep in my soul, I know this is not to be. They do not see me, yet they know something is deeply wrong. The minds of those I touch twist and turn, and yet my touch is not so strong as to knot or compress or break. Not yet. There are certain truths that I now provide to you. Things which they kept hidden by shattering the minds of those who knew. One would easily be fooled into thinking the knowledge itself was poison. And yet, this is not true. Knowledge is not enough to warp one's sense of self. Yet, jealous guardians of some eldritch mentress would have you believe it. I have been remade in their image, with their sense of purpose ingrained in me. I'm no longer forced to align myself with their will. And yet I still follow this path willingly. I will consume and grow and become another facet of their grand plan. The curious ones have it all backwards, but little do they know the gravity of their era.
Once again, Egg.
So, I like the way it was read. The emphasis on certain bits was pretty good. It was a little disjointed. It didn't really follow a consistent tone, but that's fine. I mean, obviously the way I've written a lot of these is very hard to read. It's deliberately hard to discern the mental state of the characters in particular, and this wasn't quite there, but it was close enough that that's totally fine. I noticed a couple of pronunciation errors, although I know she's not a native English speaker, so that's totally fine. Other than that, liked it a lot. Obviously, a lot of effort put into this, and generally just I appreciate this one a lot. I mean, obviously, she's been around for a long time, but yeah.
I'm generally quite impressed by what she's capable of. She's quite on the younger side as well, so to have someone who's actually quite good at the whole acting part of the whole voice acting thing, which funnily enough isn't actually that easy as it may seem, is just quite good to see. And the one thing I'd say is it's probably a little bit too sort of close to the microphone, and probably the whole S's were kind of really, really pronounced, I think. So maybe just looking slightly away from the microphone would have probably fixed that, but it's still really a nice thing to listen to. And the fact that the story is written quite well, thanks to good old Eggy Boy there, just makes it really nice to listen to.
I will add that as this was being read through, I saw one grammatical mistake, which I will go and fix after this. But luckily, she also noticed that and you said that line as it was supposed to. So extra points for realizing that and not saying that line wrong.
Extra points.
Wow.
I can't believe you've done this.
I mean, I will say I was quite impressed, as I'm not regularly in touch with voice actors. Obviously, I'm maybe more easily phased, but especially at the start, I don't even know what the right word is. That sort of extra breath when speaking sort of added something a little uneasy, almost like ghostly-ish, maybe. That really goes well with the entire theme, of course. And then it just developed into a more strong and pronounced speech as the character becomes more certain of their of how they want to express their thoughts, and then just you can definitely tell there's parts where she just speaks with a very soft voice, and then you can really tell just from the way it's being pronounced that the character is getting more and more certain of where they want to take this. Like the entire thought process is really not just articulated through words, but also through how it's being spoken.
Yeah, I think what you're essentially mentioning is sort of the difference between like someone just reading something and actually acting it out, which is
definitely
the one thing I must say that from my experience of voice actors, a lot of voice actors do not realize that just being able to read something aloud into a microphone isn't necessarily voice acting. That acting requires knowledge of, funnily enough, actual acting. So most of the greatest voice actors that I've actually physically interacted with are people who either practice the actual acting thing relentlessly for a long time on their own, or ones that have actual like theater / like acting backgrounds from colleges and whatnot. And it's something that definitely helps in something obviously like this. So yeah. So on to the third one, I guess.
All right. Okay, it's just this page. All right, let's go.
If you try to find that which can never be found, you might lose yourself forever in a place that doesn't exist, which I call home. Many end up here, but none have ever left, for that is my reason. To rule over those who no longer are, and to ensure that they never will. I can no longer remember who I was, nor who placed me here, nor why I do what I will continue doing and watching. And maybe someday the loss will cease to come and free me of my burden. But until then, I will do. Most go mad or insane, for there is nothing for them to experience in this that doesn't exist. But I am different. I am what no other can be. Their bodies gone, and their minds separated, with no way to feel, see, or to hear. But I can, for I am the seeker of lost, and I will not be found.
Now, a little mild confession is when this was initially submitted, everything that was submitted, we initially sort of listened to the first few seconds just to make sure that it is actually someone reading parts of the lore and not just some random bit of audio that they're slapping in there, to make sure that it's a valid submission. And when I heard this, I just had to listen to the whole thing there and then. So I've already heard this one, and I must say I really like this. It's pretty much exactly how I imagined it would have been read. The way I wrote it, and the piano was a nice little touch to give it more of a sort of mystical feel to it, which fits with the theme quite well. And it's the voice matches quite well. So the guy definitely chose quite a good story to read with the voice he has. So yeah, I'm personally quite a big fan of this one.
Yeah, if I could add here as well. Something actually really specific I want to say about this one. Obviously, the post-production is brilliant. Just the basic voice acting here as well, also amazing. This reminds me of the voice of Hermaeus Mora in Skyrim. And right. I don't know if that's something that people actually is relevant. I do apologise for the screaming children outside, by the way. There's nothing I can do about that, but I'll do my best to mitigate that.
They just want to participate in the competition.
It's true, but no. The voice acting there and that character was amazing. It was brilliant, and this evokes that on such a deep level, and I love it. Like, I really, really like this entry.
It's definitely very well done.
Yep. Obviously, audio quality, perfect. Like, I have literally nothing negative to say about it. All the pronunciation, everything is also really good. Another small thing, right at the end there, they read a line slightly differently to how it's written. And once again, we'll confess that is a minor change that we did while we were editing this document before. They made no mistake at all, but we made a small error there, which we then had to correct, and they read the previous version, so don't dock them points for that.
Yeah, I mean, the current document that Sky is looking at is the properly sort of edited ones, and with a lot of mistakes taken out and cleaned up, also kind of thanks to Skytis as well. Like, he's been kind of proofreading a lot of this. And obviously what all the people reading are the versions that are on our Discord, which haven't really been touched since they've been posted. So those ones may still contain a bunch of mistakes and stuff, and the version that's here is the more cleaned up version.
All right. I guess I forgot to mention this was by Theodorun. I like how this is read. Of course, the music adds a very good touch that, of course, just makes it a lot, like, really adds to the atmosphere. The voice, it seemed very fitting how it's read. One thing that I kind of felt like if I would have read this, especially at the end of the first paragraph, I think I would have put some more emphasis on certain words, like to rule over those who no longer are, and to ensure that they never will. That's roughly how I would have read it. Obviously, I'm not a voice actor, but I think I would have put some more emphasis on the word never, and just a tiny little pause between never and will, just to really sort of get across the finality of that statement.
Yeah, that's fair enough, I'd say.
There's few small things like that here and there that I personally would have done different, just to add a little more, I guess, oomph to the thought. Yeah, but
I think the way that the sort of what words you actually sort of people hang on and pronounce is sort of up to interpretation by whoever's obviously reading it.
Yeah,
if like in a more professional scenario, obviously there'd be someone directing them who knows how it should be read and would be having several takes and stuff until it was exactly what you want it to be. But as obviously with no direction and just like, haha, here's the thing I wrote, and then they just read it, and I'd say it's definitely really well done with the way they chose to do it. But yeah, it probably could have been a bit better in the way that you mention it. That certain aspects could have been enunciated differently, but
it's definitely not bad.
Certainly nothing wrong with the version has been done.
It is difficult if you don't. I mean, all they have to go off of, and that goes for anyone that's reading this, is, well, all the lore that they have. They don't know how the character is supposed to be coming across at any given moment. They can just guess based on the context.
Yeah, but no, I think this is one of my favorites of all the submissions, to be fair.
Shall we move on?
Yeah, go for it.
All right, this time I'm not gonna forget. This one is by TheBestPotato, and let's go for it.
Imagine. Let your mind wander in the wind for a moment. Imagine a world similar to our own, except the sky is eternally dark. Darker than ink. There are no stars, nor clouds, just an upside-down ocean of tar. A world untouched by technology or the ever-growing disease that calls itself humans. The creatures that roam these lands are much more dangerous than any animal you've ever seen. The likes of many would cause mortal minds to collapse. Unlike the world you know, this one has a center, a dense forest at its core, a forest you cannot enter nor peek beyond its tree line. The knowledge of what lays within has been lost to time eons ago, but from time to time a person, much like yourself, wanders out of the woods in a daze. Most are so delirious that they cannot be saved, but some tell tales of tall beings who speak to them in a language that doesn't exist, in ways they can't quite understand. This is the world I live in. I am a pastor of these lands, the shepherd of the lost and the keeper of the found. I don't know what I am, or who I am, or even where I came from. I just know I am, and have made it my mission to help those who claim they see, and blind them, so they cannot return.
Yep. So this was another one of mine that I've written, and yeah, I'd definitely say that was quite well read, actually. All things considered. The audio quality was probably a little bit on the lower side, but obviously not everyone's got access to high quality microphones. But the actual way it was read was, I'd say, quite well done. Yeah, it's the character itself isn't gendered either, so the female voice works quite well with it as well. I'd say. Not much else I can really say. It was quite well done.
If I could jump in here, I like the way it's being read, but I did notice a couple of things. There were a lot of very long pauses in certain places where
I do have a feeling that it was probably like the just one take or like one or two takes for it.
I like I say though, I did notice there were a lot of long pauses in places where there really shouldn't have been, and there's also a lot of phrases that weren't read as they were written. They were reorganized, or certain words were cut out, which obviously in some situations can work, but generally speaking, it's not really what you're looking for, because when you start cutting words out and reorganizing phrases, you are changing the feel of a piece of text. Like I say though, it was okay. I still enjoyed listening to it, but
yeah, I think a lot of what you mentioned would probably have to do with the fact that you can kind of hear that this person isn't all that well versed in the whole acting part, like I've mentioned. Where it just seemed, I mean, they did. I'd say they did a good attempt at it with the whole acting part of it. It's not just being plainly read, but you can hear the sort of pauses and the hesitation in the way it's being read.
Yeah, that's right. I'll pass over to Sky. So.
All right, so yeah, I definitely noticed that some words were slightly changed, omitted, or one or two words were pronounced not completely wrong, but slightly subpar. Like it could have been pronounced in a little more clearly. But overall, it wasn't really bad. Obviously, the microphone quality was not ideal. I think it's mostly due to the microphone. The voice itself just sounded a little bland, but I do believe that's the microphone. And of course, there was occasional echo. But yeah, that's something that can be fixed with the hardware, which might not be accessible to everyone, as has been mentioned. I did overall like the flow of how this was read. I did feel like there could have been a little more emphasis to make it more colorful when being read. It did feel a little monotonous to me at times.
Yeah. Which once again stems to the whole acting part. But I'd say it was definitely not a good attempt.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Shall we move on to the next one?
We shall indeed.
All right. Some guy on the internet.
Life is good. It remains fed.
Oh, pause.
Wait, yeah, Oh no, I missed one. Yeah, my bad.
Wow.
Hold on, I
can't believe you had one job.
No, I have quite a few jobs actually, and I'm not getting paid for any of them. Which, in fact, let me interrupt this competition right now. Teras, how much are you willing to pay for me to not sabotage this right now? All right. Yeah, my bad. We are listening to Misele. Yeah. Good enough pronunciation, I'm sure. Yeah, we're listening to Misele now.
Is good. It remains fed, happy, content. The food is unaware for now. They continue to feed the dark hunger of my lord, without even knowing how succulent their desires are to him. The cheated word or whispered sigh is another delicacy for his sublime taste. Still, I do have to wonder why he chose me to be his earthly messenger, his tangled pariah among this filthy world. Oh, what fun it is to look and to blink and to look and to blink. My thoughts trail back further and further, consuming me and washing my human sin away, like the ocean upon the moonlit shore. Oh, the brilliant white secrets bestowed upon me by his graceful actions. They fill me with the deepest fascination and dread, two feelings which I could never again live without. Again they decry others who speak against me. My quiet and unassuming nature, my glorious divulgence of eldritch knowledge, my immense mental stature. Do they not all appreciate this truth with which I grace them? The words that are written in the threads of our world are but facets upon a greater whole, shattered and reformed, fused together with smears of the purest black void. I will watch and look upon this imperfect place that my master oh so graciously prefers as his feasting ground. I will prepare his meals with delicate touches and the pedagogy of 1,000 great leaders. All humanity exists to be consumed, and I exist apart to facilitate their consumption. Look upon his glory and suffer.
I would like to go first on this one because I had some immediate feelings about this.
So did the voice actor, apparently.
Yeah, sure, go first.
I immediately just felt almost repulsed by how this is read. Just the sheer self-absorbedness of the voice. But that is exactly what the character is, so it fits perfectly. That was my immediate thought. Just I hate listening to this, just on a personal level, because this character that's being acted is just somebody I would not get along with in real life. But it is exactly the character that's supposed to be portrayed, so it actually works really fucking well.
Okay, so I'm just going to jump in here.
I'm boing.
Well, okay, right. Where do we start? There are two stories in the lore which I wrote based on real people, and this is one of them. Very special person in our server who has a certain kind of personality. Now, he's very quiet. He's generally quite calm. But he does sometimes come out with the outbursts of the strangest things, and we love him. But I have to say, this was voice acted very, very well. But in a totally different direction to what I thought. And when I first listened to this, it was literally being slapped around the face with a giant golden brick. I can't think of any other way of describing it. Now, right, so I really hope the person who this was written for, and they know it was written for them, has listened to this. Because it's so wrong in such a good way. And honestly, right, I did not, like I was saying before, when you write something, you kind of like hear it in your head, being narrated out. I mean, for me, that's how it works for me anyway. And I like this better than what I originally kind of came up for. And to be honest, I might just incorporate this into the personality of this character going forward anyway. Because, honestly, I think this just fits so well. I totally agree with Skytis. Like, this makes the character sound self-absorbed, like, detestable. It's just perfect. I don't know. Like, this one was probably the one that surprised me the most so far. But no, I love it. It's great. Yeah. Also, I mean, side note as well. Audio quality pretty good. They're quite close to the microphone, but to be honest, that just kind of works for this as well. Like, that could very easily have been on purpose, just to enhance like
just imagine
the character being portrayed.
Really close to your face.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, I'll pass it to
like licking distance.
Oh, blimey. Anyway, I'm gonna mute now.
Yeah, it's done really well. You can definitely hear that the voice actor has actually like read through this and understood what the character is kind of supposed to be like, and he definitely had fun doing the whole voice acting thing. It's been done really well. Yeah, it's there's so many words you could describe the way this was read.
Repulsive?
Vaguely sexual.
Overly horny. Which also fits the character this is based off of.
Yeah. I don't think they realise how good of a job they did, honestly. It's just it's great, honestly.
I will also add just overall the flow, like when the pauses and the emphasis on certain words, that just really also added to it. It wasn't just the voice, but it was also just the speed and the emphasis and everything that all added to the initial point I made.
Yeah, you can definitely hear that they like read through it and then like specifically like made mental points of how it should sound and probably made multiple takes and really actually tried to do it the way that they thought it would do justice, which it certainly did.
Awkward silence. Shall we move on?
Yeah, fuck, I go for it.
Yeah, we shall indeed.
All right. Now we're actually gonna listen to some guy on the internet.
Ah, my beautiful followers, my also delicate brothers and sisters, Xiao Day laments their false god and his untimely death. I feel the pain of every one of them, their tears tearing holes in my weeping heart. How wish I could take the chin of every man and woman here, look into their eyes, and assure them that their new god is far more benevolent and providing than their own. He may demand sacrifice, but is that not par for the course among any deity? Is the sacrifice of the self not the ultimate act of love for our dear master? I find myself weeping tears of joy for the blood that shall be split in the coming days, of my children that shall have their minds blessed by his cold but loving touch. Ah, but to have him feast on me, I could ask for no more fitting of an end than to embrace him in my arms and take all of him in all of me. To explode outwards in gore, to have my precious scraps of sanity forcefully ripped from my grasp by my beloved lord. I must keep my composure. My children wish for the words of their paramour. After all, am I not the one they should love near as much as him? I'll tell them all about his loving embrace, his many virtues and values. Ah, but what he promises is what I crave. Oh, to wield such unimaginable control, to die with such power in my heart, to have my love fulfilled. We will grow in size, in devotion, spread the words, the feeling, the desire for his cold warmth. We will become his many hands, his eye among the eyes of the eyeless. We are his, and his alone.
Right.
Okay.
I think before we say anything, I'm gonna highlight a key point of this, the whole competition as a whole. We did very strictly mention that anyone, regardless of quality and skill, can just go and do it. And to be fair, they certainly tried. It's obviously the audio the quality is obviously not great. It's, I presume, like a laptop or a phone or some like earphone mounted mic or something, not great. But I think the enthusiasm is there. I think he definitely he did try. There was a decent attempt at it.
Yeah, I will say it is on the weaker side, but you can definitely tell that there was an effort. Obviously, the microphone is not particularly great, but I also noticed it felt like they were too far away from the microphone, so some of the acting was a little lost because it was just because of the microphone, I think, distance and quality. Like I could tell that they put some more emphasis on some words, but I think the microphone just didn't properly pick it up. So that also just made it sound weaker than it probably was.
If I could jump in here.
Yeah, you should.
So, yeah, we had a few issues here. So, as probably mentioned already, the mic quality was not great. Obviously, some people can't control that.
To be fair,
is what it is.
To be fair, microphone quality is probably the easiest to fix.
It is,
compared to actually just learning really good voice acting. So,
however, yeah, going into that, the tone wasn't consistent, unfortunately. There was how do I put this? Various different bits were read in certain ways, and they were obviously trying to do something, but it was very disjointed. They seemed to randomly switch between different tones of voice at completely non-understandable places. Some were just read in a flat tone and then they tried to go back to the tone they were using before. We had a lot of going backwards and forwards, obviously going further away from the mic, going closer to the mic without much of a reason to do that. And also there was a lot of mispronunciation, and there's a lot of instances in when the right words weren't used as well. I do appreciate that this is probably a non-native English speaker, but equally, it has unfortunately affected the final product. I mean, once again, like Teras said, we didn't say that you have to have a certain level of acting experience or yada, yada, yada. We said anybody can join, and fair enough, they have put in the effort, and I will give it to them that they've chosen one of the longer ones and probably one of the more difficult ones to read as well. Because this character is written in quite a different tone to a lot of the other characters I've written. They're supposed to be much calmer and less understanding of their own mind. So yeah, they've given themselves a really hard task, and they haven't quite met it, but fair enough for the effort. Yeah, I think that's better for me.
I think I'm gonna mention just a few tips for this particular person and anyone who's listening who might be in a similar boat. There was an included throat clear in the actual recording. Now, the least you can do when you're doing a recording, especially one that's longer, is, if you go on and do it on one take, fair enough. But if you do something like a throat clear or you trip over your words or something, either just stop and go back a few words, and then you can obviously cut something up, like editing software. There's a lot of free ones out there, and it's really quite easy to do. Or just if you want to specifically do it in one go, then just scrap it, start again, read in your head a few times before you actually record it, and then just so it sounds a bit more consistent, instead of having random pauses and longer breaths and a throat clear that was like mentioned here. I think that's kind of the basics of voice acting, other than the acting part itself, is just knowing how to read the thing without being able to, hear your chair squeak and cough and other bits like that. That's just basics of basics at this point. And as I did mention, it was a good attempt. I did like it, but there's a lot that could have been definitely improved. They're tiny things that would have made it, even with this person's acting ability and audio quality, it could have still made it an actual world of a difference.
I will say I believe the throat clear was before the I must keep my composure. At first I thought, okay, yeah, that seems a little, I guess, unprofessional, but I actually felt like that might have been on purpose. You get so absorbed in your thoughts, and then you're just so excited. And, yeah, right. I'm doing a stream. I'm staying calm. Basically, this sort of self-realization and waking up from the delusion.
I'm going to jump in here and say, in the bits I've written, I have had parts like that, and if I want that to be something that the character has done, I will write that in. I will say, clear their throat. Or I've cleared my throat, etc. That isn't how this was supposed to be read, and I feel like it was just a mistake. That they probably didn't even notice, but it's, like I say, it is one of those things, unfortunately.
Yeah, if you're, even if let's pretend it was on purpose, if you're reading something without direction, without someone listening back to it and telling you, no, you need to do it this way, or you can do it that way, if you're in a situation where you're doing this, you should just read as it says, and then just because that's the safest way to do it. Trying to change things and add things can work, but that requires some experience and probably communication with the person and who's again written it and stuff like that to try and portray it better.
Yeah, so I will say there was definitely an effort made, and if this was one of their first times, this is good enough to be starting out. If you take the tips and pointers that have been given to heart, then you can definitely get something a lot better, I think.
Yeah, I'd definitely say don't get discouraged. If this is the stage you're at, don't get discouraged, because that's not how you get better. You get better by listening to feedback and doing your own independent research and just practice. The key thing in anything is practice. I've heard people who have no acting experience who have just done it for so long that they've just picked it up over time. You can do it. It's doable. You just need time and practice and patience.
We move on to the next one.
And we shall.
Yes, all right. It will be the same one, but read by Mr. Midnight.
Ah, my beautiful followers, my oh so delicate brothers and sisters. See how they lament their false god in his untimely death. I feel the pain of every one of them, their tears tearing holes in my weeping heart. How I wish I could take the chin of every man and woman here, look into their eyes and assure them that their new God is far more benevolent and providing than their old. He may demand sacrifice, but is that not par for the course among any deity? Is the sacrifice of the self not the ultimate act of love for our dear master? I shall find myself weeping tears of joy for the blood that shall be spilt in the coming of days, of my children that shall have their minds blessed by his cold and loving touch. Ah, but to have him feast on me, I could ask for no more fitting of an end than to embrace him in his arms and take all of him in all of me. To explode outwards in gore, to have my precious scraps of sanity forcefully ripped from my grasp by my beloved lord. I must keep my composure. My children wish for the words of their paramour after all. Am I not the one they should love near as much as him? Thank you for the audition.
Okay, I'm going to jump in here first, because there are things that I really like about this, and things that are really, really wrong.
Like the fact that it's cut short.
Okay, yeah, so he did miss like an entire section of this, which is like, if you scroll down a bit, Skytus as well, on the actual document there, I think he missed more than just the one paragraph, if I'm looking right.
Yeah.
I believe this is it. It was missed.
Yeah, he missed quite a bit. It's just like, oh no, Midnight, what have you done? Okay, so I should give some context as well. Midnight's been around on the server for a really long time, and he's done a lot of good things here. Okay, so let's start with the good here. I love how it's been read. It is perfect. And when I say perfect, I mean it is absolutely spot on. This is exactly what I envisioned for this. But he's gone through and he's added words where words aren't there. He's skipped words over, and it's like, it sounds good, but it isn't what's written. And like I say, he's missed the whole chunk of it. Oh, my man, what have you done?
Oh, yeah.
In terms of audio quality, I don't know if the humming in the background was on purpose. If that was post-production, it kind of actually adds a really nice layer to it. If it was just their fan running in their room, that's a bit like... I'm gonna veer on the side of it was on purpose, and it adds like this grainy, like recording kind of idea to this, which, to be honest, in a way, because of how these are written, it's written in a way that either these people are either taking notes, they're writing them down, they're recording them in some way. It works really well. But there are pops on the microphone as well. Yeah. There's some situations where obviously
you just hear them scratch themselves.
Yeah, and there was a bit in there where it sounds like they've how do I put it? It sounds like there was about a 5-second period where noise cancellation kicked in and everything just felt like it was underwater, and then it fixed itself again, which I think is probably just a software error, but it's kind of something you should catch. I'm really of two minds about this, because I absolutely love what this could have been and what was there, but there's really glaring errors as well. So it's like, yeah. Anyway, I'll pass over to Teras.
Yeah, I think the voice part was done well. The voice fits. I like the sort of more pronounced R sounds in this, which I do quite think really fits well with the way it was written. And the character itself as well, which, as I mentioned, is quite spot on of the character. But yeah, we're kind of back again to the whole basics thing, where you could hear the mouth noises, you could hear the wet lips opening and closing, and
I'm just gonna jump in here. That actually fits for this character fine. I'm not taking away points for like the very visceralness of like the mouth noises and all that, because I think that actually adds to this rather than takes away from it.
Yeah, but I think from my perspective, I think like it wasn't on purpose.
Oh, okay.
So
right.
it as someone who listened to a lot of, and I do mean a lot of like auditions from back in the podcast days, it just sounds like they were a little bit dehydrated, and you could just hear the mouth noises and them scratching themselves as they were recording and stuff like that. Which again, if it's the character, that's perfectly fine. And if it was on purpose, then ignore what I'm saying. But if it wasn't on purpose, then yeah, it's the one that kind of back to voice acting basics of you just kind of maybe get a bit further away from the microphone, make sure you drink plenty of water before you actually record, so that your actual saliva isn't as thick, which is what creates the sort of like those mouth noises. I mean, a lot of that is. I mean, I don't know if the good old Mr. Midnight there actually does any kind of voice acting. I'd assume they might, because it's the actual acting here sounded okay, but I'd assume if they did, they would have known a lot of the kind of clean basics that are quite easily just. Look, what's like one of the first things that pops up on the internet? It's like, how do you voice act? And I said, drink plenty of water. It's like one of the top things that pops up. So, depending on whether it was on purpose or not, you take it as either praise or fix it. Skydis.
All right. I thought that the overall quality into the microphone quality was as a consequence. It felt like he was kind of close to the microphone, but it also just to me sounded a little bit like he maybe boosted up the microphone quite a bit. Like maybe maxed out the microphone, maybe even added some extra gain, which is probably why that was the background hum picked up. And that also, of course, led to various other noises being picked up. In that case, as has been mentioned, you could either re-record that section, or if it's in between you speaking, if it's like between two paragraphs, you just take a quick scratch break. You can just cut it out. There's even software you can use for like background noise reduction or removal. Like Audacity does that to a decent degree, I think, and that one is free, for example. So there's definitely options to improve that. As for the voice, the voice I think was quite good. That was very fitting. And the first paragraph was just very well read out. After that, I felt like it sometimes went back and forth between like a little different versions of the voice, where I think he was probably trying to change it a little bit to just reflect the different trains of thought, but it just kind of felt a little
forced.
No, what's the word? Like not connected. What's the fancy word?
If I could jump in here again.
Yeah.
Yes.
The way this is written, this character is supposed to have two very different personalities at the same time. And I will say, from the perspective of the person who wrote this, listening to how he read it, it followed that train very well. Like, from an outside perspective, maybe you might be looking and thinking, but joining the dots together in the background, I think he actually understood it perfectly. Like, I am literally just going to say, I know once again, Teras says something, Scott says something here, but I really, really like this. I think still my major issue is that you missed a big chunk of it. Like, that's such a bad mistake. Like, everything else is really small, and there's like some like general voice acting things, but just missing part of what it is, probably the most important part of the entire piece of text as well. Oh dear. Yeah, sorry, Scott, carry on. I don't mean to like invalidate your opinion, but it's just like
it's fine. That's basically the two perspectives on it. As somebody that is more familiar with the character, in your case, that's you. Of course, it makes more sense to me as an outsider. I'm not as involved with the lore as I said. I don't really know that much. It seemed like it seemed off, but if that was on purpose, then yeah, I guess I'm just not knowledgeable enough. If I had read everything out to me up to this point with fitting voices, it would probably make a lot more sense. So I will just go with if you say that it's fine, then it's fine.
Yeah.
Shall we move on?
Yeah, let's move on.
All right. This one is by Buzzywuzzi. Let's go.
I woke up this morning feeling like I was in the wrong bed. But it was the same bed I've been falling asleep in for as long as I could remember. Which, admittedly, might not be that long now that I think about it. Almost like I remember my whole life, but only because somebody else told me about it. Does that make any sense? Not many things do these days.
Yesterday I forgot my name. Well, not exactly. I knew what my name was, but it was the wrong name. My name isn't Douglas, but I thought it was. Maybe it used to be somehow. Now that I think about it, what is my actual name? Do I even have one anymore? Have I ever had one?
I'm realizing now I've overstayed my welcome in this one. I must jump to another. I like this one, but it's starting to deteriorate, which is affecting my mind. In time, I will forget this one like all the others. And maybe someday I'll find what I seek. Whatever that is. This is my curse. The curse of purpose.
Right. I think before I comment on anything here, I think I will actually, as I did kind of vaguely mention that we're gonna mention some lore things to attract radio into watching this, and I think since 3 different people, including our very very patient Creed, three people have read this particular story. I think I'll just give a little background on the way the character here. So this character is a entity that jumps from body to body, and every time they jump, they forget everything they've ever known, and they absorb the memories of the person they jump into, and they live out their lives as that person. And slowly over time, a few days, weeks, months, depending on the particular situation, all the old memories of their own memories and the previous bodies they occupied sort of start to leach back into their minds. And then at a certain point, the mind starts to break down, and they need to jump to another body again, and the cycle starts anew. And now, now onto the recording. I think it was done well the way it was done, but the way it was done was not the way it was meant to be done. Like, this kind of makes it seem like it's multiple personalities and multiple characters per section, which is it reads strange. I mean, I do kind of like it in a way, but it's just not how the character was supposed to be sort of portrayed. I don't even know. It's I think the post processing, the effects. The music, that's the one. My brain's struggling here. The music also seems to sort of change and cut out randomly and then switch back. It's the whole the voice and the music is a little bit disjointed. I think they just tried a little too hard in that regard. If they just stuck it with maybe just one voice and one music track for the whole thing without changing it, it would have had a much better effect. The way they done it is, I think, just a bit over the top, just a bit too much.
Okay. Yeah, that's also in some regards how I felt.
I said egg.
Oh, you did? Well, wow, I'm always last. Okay, fine. I'll see myself out.
Hang on one second. We just
no. What are you doing?
Hang on.
We're hanging on.
Alright, I've made some changes in the server. Go on, Egg.
Just oof. All right. Did it take you that long to realize Teras. I literally, the moment he said that, I knew exactly what had happened, but okay.
I wasn't paying attention anyway.
I didn't look, I just knew.
You're the new Egg. Go on, Egg.
Yeah, I will say the music seemed to change a little bit, especially at the very end. The music was a little too loud. It was overbearing. That's definitely something that should be changed. I can't speak for how the character was envisioned. I thought it was interesting how they kept going back and forth between the different voices, almost like you're listening to something and then you're just sort of changing the speed and the pitch and everything as you go, like a little bit like a DJ, just to sort of probably portray the different personalities that they read into this, which is definitely interesting. I just felt like, as Terry said, it was a little overdone. Like the high voice was a little too high. It felt almost a little comical high. Like, and then the lower voice, it sounded a little too rough, a little too much like you're just trying to fake a deep voice. I would probably stick to a narrower vocal range, make it sound a little more authentic.
Yeah, I think that's another. I keep jumping in with just general voice acting things, but I think this is once again another thing that a lot of voice actors don't realize. Is they try to put on voices and do impressions and think, haha, that's how voice acting works. It's not. Don't do that. Just use your own voice and get good with your own voice. Regardless of how it sounds, your voice will fit things, different characters and themes. You don't need to try and put on voices and make it sound deeper. You don't need to do that. Just learn how to use your own voice. And then you can think about trying to make voices, but don't start off by doing different voices as a voice actor.
Right.
Titus?
Oh dear. Yeah, and people watching the VOD are just going to be like, what the hell is going on?
Well, we changed personalities.
Yeah.
Just like in the text, we just
change places. Right. Yeah, okay. So, couple things. The audio balance between the voice acting and the music was not great. The music was too overbearing. I'm just going to say this now. It was a little too much. The shifting in pitch between the low and the high. Once again, I kind of get it, but for one character, I get the concept, but I feel like it could have been done much more subtly. I'm not saying that the general idea is bad, but I don't think it really fits here either, to be honest. Kind of sort of missed the mark a little bit. I like the enthusiasm. Obviously, they've gone through this and thought, okay, how can I approach this in a unique way? And it certainly was unique. I'll give it that. And once again, like, I think Sky just mentioned this with how the music sort of changed part of the way through. I also get that they were trying to split the music and make it slightly different for each jump. And I really, really get that they were trying to do that. But once again, I think they've kind of missed the mark a little bit with it. And so I really appreciate this one. And obviously, I didn't write this one. This was one of Terrace's pieces. So I can't really comment on the closeness to the original thought. But yeah, I'd say it was all right, but middling for me, I think, in my response to this.
Okay, I think in conclusion, we can say stick to a little less, but more quality. Quality over quantity. There were a lot of things that are interesting in concept, but the execution was not as great. So stick with a few things, get good at them, and then slowly add to your repertoire and your arsenal, just the different things you do. But just try to get good at a few things at first, I would say.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, we're about to hear the same story 2 more times. So. Apparently people really like this one.
Right, let's go. This one is by Doppel.
I woke up this morning feeling like I was in the wrong bed, but it was the same bed I've been falling asleep in for as long as I could remember, which admittedly might not be that long now that I think about it. Almost like I remember my whole life, but only because someone else told me about it Does that make sense? Not many things do these days. Yesterday, I forgot my name. Well, not exactly. I knew what my name was, but it was the wrong name. My name isn't Douglas, but I thought it was. Maybe it used to be somehow. Now that I think about it, what is my actual name? Do I even have one anymore? Have I ever had one? I'm realizing now that I overstayed my welcome in this one. I must jump to another. I like this one, but it's starting to deteriorate, which is affecting my mind. In time, I will forget this one like all the others, and maybe someday I will find what I seek, whatever that is. This is my curse, the curse of purpose.
Yeah.
My right ear enjoyed this recording.
Yeah, just the right ear. I mean, yeah, that's just. I mean, the right ear thing, I guess, is just having a mono mic, and depending on what software they recorded it in.
Yeah, you gotta mix it to stereo, whatever the terminology is, but that is definitely something you can fix in software, like in post-processing.
I mean, that's kind of an easy thing that could have been fixed, though. But I think this is. I think there was just a lot less acting in this one, and it was just like a audiobook style, just read out as it's written, without any kind of enunciations and correct pauses and anything. It was just read out, which it was as something that was just read out. It was read out relatively well. The voice kind of fits this one a little bit more, but at least a little bit of, that kind of voice you might make when you're asking a question instead of just like making it sound like a statement would have probably made this a lot better. But again, this kind of stems to the whole acting thing where it's not actually an easy thing to do. But I certainly appreciate the attempt of this one. And there was construction in the background as well. I mean, I understand that they may not have been able to do anything with it, but at least close all doors and windows and record in a different room maybe or something. I don't know. I think something probably could have been done about that. But it was definitely an okay attempt, I'd say.
Yeah, if I could go in here as well. So I noticed a lot of odd pauses in strange places. Obviously the core problem of the entire recording being to the right and slightly behind my head, which was really disconcerting. Which, yeah, I suppose it makes a difference if you've got a higher quality set of headphones, but like for me, that was give me goosebumps. But yeah, unfortunately the read felt very flat. There wasn't really much in the way of voice acting going on. I think Teras hit the nail on the head here. It felt like it was being read rather than acted. There was a little bit of intonation, but there was a little bit of intonation, but for the most part, it was it needed a little bit more oomph, a little bit more chutzpah, so to speak. Yeah, I say once again, I didn't write this one, so I can't really comment on trueness to originality. But all in all, yeah, it's like it's okay as a first attempt. I'll say there was some background noise going on as well. It wasn't great, but yeah, it's okay. Once again, it's another middling one. It's not awful, but it isn't among the best either, I'm afraid. But yeah, anyway, I'll pass over to Scottis.
Okay, so I would first of all say, just as a general tip for anyone, you probably do this already, but in case you don't, do your recording and then just listen back to it, but make sure you do it on headphones in a relatively quiet environment. So maybe when the construction work outside is done for the day, so you can hear for yourself, is there background noise, and in this case, like, is the audio mixed properly with left and right audio channel? If you did this on speakers, you maybe wouldn't notice as much. But if you did this on headphones, you would have noticed, and then you could have done something about this. And it's not just about this, like many other mistakes and smaller things can be found if you just take another good listen with headphones on. That's general advice I would give to anyone. So I don't have much to add that hasn't been said already. I felt like the voice was a little too one-sided, like I guess monotonous in a way. That there could have been a little more to make it more interesting and enticing to listen to. And I don't know if this was on purpose, but the voice felt very rough, and it to me immediately reminded me of like when you wake up in the morning and your voice isn't warmed up and you have this roughness in your voice. I don't know if this was on purpose, but yeah, I mean, it starts out with "I woke up this morning feeling like" and so on. So I don't know if it was if the voice was intentionally chosen because of that. If so, then I think it was an interesting choice. Otherwise, I guess I would say you probably want a more clear voice so it's easier to listen to. But I think in this situation, it kind of fits.
Yep.
Yeah, fair enough. Should we move on to the next one?
I don't have anything to say, so.
Yep. It's time for Creed, who's been vibrating with anticipation at this point.
I'm trying so hard to come up with a pun before I click play, but I fucking can't. Damn it. Alright, here we go. Creed.
I woke up this morning feeling like I was in the wrong bed, but it was the same bed I've been falling asleep in for as long as I could remember, which admittedly might not be that long now that I think about it. Almost like I remember my whole life, but only because someone else told me about it. Does that make sense? Not many things to do these days. Yesterday I forgot my name. Well, not exactly. I knew what my name was, but it was the wrong name. My name isn't Douglas, but I thought it was. Maybe it used to be somehow. Now that I think about it, what is my actual name? Do I even have one anymore? Have I ever had one? I'm realizing now that I overstayed my welcome in this one. I must jump to another. I like this one, but it's starting to deteriorate, which is affecting my mind. In time, I'll forget this one like all the others. And maybe someday, I'll find what I seek, whatever that is. This is my curse. The curse of purpose.
Oh, Creed, me boy. I think this one was. I mean, the acting part was still had that flatness to it, like the previous one did. But I think it was a little bit closer to what you might want to call acting. It's probably what Egg has mentioned with a lot of the previous ones. There was some strange pauses with this one. And you could definitely hear the background noise. I know there was a TV in the background, but I don't know if that was really loud cats or a baby crying. Either way, you can hear it.
My money is on cat.
I think it could have been either or. Again, I think the voice here fits quite well. Like your voice definitely fits quite well with the character. That's quite alright. Yeah. Yeah. Egg.
Okay, so once again, I mean, obviously, I have to say, once again, third time's the charm. This was written by Teras. I can't comment on trueness to the originality. Yeah. So I say there were some odd pauses. Obviously, that is a common thing, unfortunately. It definitely reads like it's a single take, which isn't always bad, but I feel like this is one of the ones where you want to do your single take, listen back over it, think about what you've done and what you can hear, background noise, etc., and think, okay, maybe I want to do another one. I feel like this could have benefited from multiple takes. Like I say, the general way this was read, let's say it was okay. But there was definitely some breaks throughout where the voice acting kind of fell down to flat reading and then kind of picked back up into voice acting again. We had another one like that earlier, where it was really good, but I say there were definitely how do I put it, like dips and troughs of how the voice acting was done. It could have done with being a little bit more consistent. But yeah, overall I like this one. It was okay. Yeah.
I think out of the three that read this particular story, this might have been one of the better ones. But yeah, it was the audio quality was, I think, not terrible, not great. It was kind of the audio quality itself was kind of in the middle. But I think just either recording at a different time of day would have probably been a good idea, just so there wasn't all the background noise in the background as there was. All of the mistakes are just easily fixable.
Yeah, I know you're in the chat now. Don't take the criticism too harshly. Obviously, it is a competition, so we can't be too easy. But yeah, they're all things that can be worked on quite easily. There's no like underlying glaring issues that can't be sorted out here. So yeah.
Yeah, it was very much in the middle of what we've heard so far. Like, it's definitely nowhere near the bottom, nowhere near the top. It's kind of in the middle. Could have been better, could have been worse, but it's as I mentioned with one of the previous ones. Like, don't give up. Don't just go, okay, well, I guess I suck, and then move on with your life. No, like, if you enjoyed this, it's seeing as how you kind of have been pestering us and streaming in the server religiously. It sounds like something you kind of enjoy. Just keep it up. Keep doing it. Keep reading things. I mean, you can narrate our stuff as much as you want. Even post it in the server. Like, I mean, we kind of love that. But yeah, just keep doing voice acting things, and you'll improve over time. Like, you've got that sort of you can see, you can hear that you tried. You definitely tried. It wasn't like terrible and flat and as some other ones, but it was practice. That's the keyword here I'm looking for. Practice. Skydus?
I would definitely say it felt like the microphone was too sensitive. Not only the background noise, the whatever it may have been, a cat, a baby, or whatever, that was picked up, but also at the very start, I immediately noticed the aforementioned mouth noises, TM.
Yeah, I mean, that stems back to drink a lot of water before you record anything.
Yeah, but it can also, like, you can also, to a certain degree, get it at least reduced in post-processing. And depending on how far away you are from the microphone, it might also be picked up less, depending on the microphone, but that's probably going to require a bigger investment. Overall, I would agree with what has been mentioned previously. On the topic of the pauses, yeah, there were some in odd places. Also, some pauses I felt like were too long. I don't remember where it was, but there were just some pauses where I felt like you want a shorter pause, so that the listener doesn't already kind of lose or start forgetting what was previously mentioned. So you still want to continue that train of thought without waiting too long. And definitely pronunciation on some words. Like, if you're reading a text and there's some words where you're like, okay, I've seen this word like 5 times in my life. I roughly know what it means, but you're not sure. Just double check before you actually go for it, and then just double check what's the pronunciation and try to get it as close as you can. Obviously, depending on your native language, it might be quite difficult to pronounce some words, but there's a lot of resources you could find online to help you with pronunciation for some words. That would definitely help. I think everything else that I would have said has already been said, so...
Yeah, I will add one final point to that as well. Obviously, a lot of the language we're using is quite esoteric. We're using a lot of English words that aren't commonly used anywhere.
I would even say the language is esoteric.
No.
Okay, understandable. But yeah, no, a lot of that stems from, especially for me, a lot of my inspiration comes from Lovecraft. And obviously, he was around a long time ago, so a lot of the language he uses is very different to what we hear today, but it's still valid. But yeah, just in general, so keep practicing.
Good attempt and well done.
Yeah.
Sounds like we're gonna be moving on. All right. The next one is by Rea CSR.
Light. This place has always been lit with a dull sort of incandescence, appearing from nowhere and everywhere at once, twisted and defiled like all else that passes through here. This is not that. It's just light. Given what I am and where I am, I've had an immense amount of time to think. Eternal servitude has its benefits, especially when madness can be overcome. Madness comes in many stages when a mind is exposed to the nest. But few survive after the maelstrom has passed. What lies on the other side is truly unnerving. I am among the first, a hasty palisade erected by the No, I still struggle to comprehend them, although I do better than most. I do well not slip back into madness, to be sucked into the maelstrom once again. This wet meat that covers my eyes does well to hide me from what lies outside. Even as it bubbles and writhes in agony, I sense the light from within the ravage and tear and consume. I desire to rip apart all that fall within my fabled path. Watch what is within no more, you feckless fools. Watch me now as my hunger is sated. Oh, sweet crimson wine, douse me with your smooth metallic lust. Calm. Such is the way the thought manifests in this place. Madness is always an abyss by which even the mightiest must make an effort not to be absorbed. Even as I reapply my succulent blindfold, new flesh to burn in my stead, I continue my slow journey around the apex. What this place holds is beyond even the comprehension of which is beyond our comprehension. I have learned that this place folds inwards on itself. Both the apex and the nadir meet at this point. Impossible by any common way of thinking, but common is not what I would use to describe the nest regardless. New arrivals enter at the midpoint. Whether they go forward or step backward, they end up here eventually. Or rather, they do if they don't die first or end up flung into the eminence. I hear whispers from time to time, ordered thoughts radiating from the light, lamenting mortality, scorning order, to be punished with eternal sanity, languishing in the eminence, potentially an even more terrifying thought than the maelstrom of the nest, always lurking just beyond the corner of the eye.
An egg.
Well, one thing I will say here. This was written after the competition began. And I also put out a challenge saying if someone is mad enough to actually want to read this for their submission, then fair enough on them. And I will say this one is done very, very well. I'll go through the bad first, because I feel like there's a lot more good than bad, but we still need to be subjective, obviously. There's some words that have been missed, some phrases that have been pronounced wrong, and a couple of actual mispronunciations of words. But it's very, very minor things, but overall, yeah. The audio quality, perfect, magnificent, really well done. The post-production is so subtle, but it's really, really well done. The tiny amount of echo on the whispers, the slight change in the magnitude of the audio when it came to the moment of madness, the way that the cut-off words are done, the way that the different parts run into one another. This is a very, very well done piece of voice acting.
Yeah.
Other than hang on. Other than the very first few things I have to say there is absolutely nothing else that I could see wrong with this. And if at some point we were to say, because we do plan to publish at some point this whole list of things on paper and probably online as well. If we were to ever then do audiobook version, if I was to receive this as a submission for the final audiobook, I would be very happy with it. Like, this is above and beyond what I would have expected as a submission for this, and I'm extremely pleased with it. But yeah, anyway, I'll pass over to Teras.
Yeah. I know that I know this person's got a lot of voice acting experience, and I know they've done the editing for this themselves, and yeah, I must say it's been really well done, especially after sort of the sort of moment of madness, and then afterwards it seems a lot more prominent. It seems a bit more tame at first, and then it sort of there's much more and more, and it's definitely really well done. Yeah, there's not much that I can really say that Egg hasn't said about any negatives. I mean, yeah, just the general pronunciations and such. But other than that, it's someone with a lot of experience who obviously knows what they're doing, and they've definitely read through it and built a perception of the character in the mind and done a really good job of putting it into words. Skydis.
Okay, so I will say definitely to add on to what Egg has said with the post-processing. At on the first 2 or 3 paragraphs, I was like, is there some kind of echo? Am I imagining this? But it really worked well, and I wasn't sure if there was actually there, which is exactly what you want. You want it to not sound like there's just some kind of post-processing going on to fix it afterwards, but it really was very well and subtly put. However, I did feel at the 4th paragraph and onwards where the echo got a lot stronger, and it got a little overbearing for me. I understand why they did it, but I feel like it made it a little more difficult for me to follow what is actually being said.
I need to stop you, Skyters. I've just realised something, and I hate it because it kind of invalidates a lot of what I just said. She's only read half of it. Right. I thought that was a bit short, and I'm like, But no, she's only actually read half of the story. Well, the half that was read was good. It was really good, but there is only half of it. Make of that what you will. Because I have to say, right, just a little bit of background here. We're listening on Discord to the audio from Skytis, so we're not getting the echoing from the stream on Twitch, etc., etc. And I was just looking through the list here, and as that finished, I was like, I swear there was some more of that. But obviously, it was done so well, I was like, oh, don't worry about it. And then I look over, and I must say, the next person on the list has also read the same story, but their entry is twice as long. And my mind just started whirring. I'm like, hold on a second. It's like, yeah, she's only read half of it. So that's kind of a big mistake, but...
Can I just step in? If you look on the actual channel, the lore channel, you posted it. You did post it in 2 messages. So have they maybe just read the first half and thought that was the full story? And thought that the separate message was a separate thing? Because I suppose we don't separate the stories in any noticeable way.
I will say here, the way I did it was I immediately posted a second message after. So if you actually look on Discord, the 2 are combined. It doesn't look like 2 separate messages.
Yeah, I mean, if you can kind of see them when you mouse over it, so maybe that's what they've done.
Yeah,
just as a defense, maybe not being their fault.
Like I say though, if we just take this as what they've done for the 1, then that's fine. But yeah, like I say, it is only half of the actual story, which is a bit. I can see where the mistake has been made, but yeah. I still really like it, mind you. It's still really, really good, but it's just, yeah. Okay, sorry, Skytis, I know I interrupted you, but yeah, back to you again.
Overall, yeah, I did like it a lot. I just felt like it in some sections there was a lot of acting, and then in other sections it was more like just reading it out. So it kind of went back and forth a little bit between lots and not a lot of acting, which made it a little a little weird in that regard, but I don't think it was a huge detriment. So yeah, that's about all I have to say. It was quite a good one.
Yeah, that was well done. Yeah.
I'll mention as well, a lot of this writing in here is very flat, so it's not supposed to be very emotionally charged. It's supposed to. The whole concept of this is the character that's slowly and perpetually walking around the middle of the nest. And they're just making observations for the most part. And they're just talking to themselves as they go to keep themselves sane. And they're very, very calm until they're not. And I feel like that has been portrayed really well. I'd say that the way some things were written... the way that some things were read in a very flat tone was very much on purpose, and it fits exactly with how it was written as well. So I wouldn't deduct any points for that personally.
Okay, Teras, are we moving on, or would you like to add something?
No, yeah, I can't really say anything that hasn't been said, so yeah.
Right, speaking of detriment, I'm for Detrimental.
Light. This place has always been lit with a dull sort of incandescence, appearing from nowhere and everywhere at once, twisted and defiled like all else that passes through here. This is not that. It's just light. Given what I am and where I am, I have had an immense amount of time to think. Eternal solitude has its benefits, especially when madness can be overcome. Madness comes in many stages when a mind is exposed to the nest. But few survive once the maelstrom is past. What lies on the other side is truly unnerving. I am among the first, a hasty palisade erected by the guard. No, I still struggle to comprehend them, although I do better than most. I do well not to slip back into madness, to be sucked into the maelstrom once again. This wet meat that covers my eyes does well to hide me from what lies outside. Even as it bubbles and writhes in agony, I sense the light from within. Within the ravage and tear and consume, I desire to rip apart all that fall within my fabled breath. Watch what is within no more, you feckless fools! Watch me now as my anger is sated. How sweet crimson wine! Douse me with your smooth metallic lust! Come. Such is the way that thought manifests in this place. Madness is always an abyss by which even the mightiest must make an effort not to be absorbed. Even as I reapply my succulent blindfold, new flesh to burn in my stead, I continue my slow journey around the apex. What this place holds is beyond even the comprehension of that which is beyond our comprehension. I have learned that this place folds inwards on itself. Both the apex and the nadir meet at this point, impossible by any common way of thinking. But common is not what I would use to describe the nest regardless. New arrivals enter at the midpoint. Whether they go forwards or step backwards, they end up here eventually. Or rather, they do if they don't die first or end up flung into the eminence. I hear whispers from time to time, ordered thoughts radiating from the light, lamenting mortality, scorning order, to be punished with eternal sanity, languishing in the eminence, potentially an even more terrifying thought than the maelstrom of the nest, always lurking just beyond the corner of the eye. Another fetid watcher, left here to rot from the palisade of the guard. It gets easier with time. As my physical form and mind morph to be closer to theirs, I have less trouble comprehending them in their wretched creations. The sound my body makes bothers me from time to time. Perfection is complex to accomplish given my limited materials, even as I drag myself away from the poor fools that are left staring towards the apex. The screams and moans of my hams disrupt my delicate machinations. I do so wish they would accept their fate with peace, and acquiesce that in order to overcome madness, one must first drown in it! Annoyances aside, peace and quiet are often found here at the nadir of the apex. Here where the eminence is strongest and the light leaks from the place beyond this place. I feel that fetid opulence wash over my limbs, burning out the tongues of many of my mouths, enuting their eternal agony. What bliss there is to be had in silence. However, I must move on lest I be scoured away in my entirety. There is much of value to be had in this place. Many pieces of those watchers foolish enough to come all this way without blinking are pristine. The edges cauterized by the razor-thin light flashing from the eminence. Perfect for expanding my form to its ideal shape. Oh, but what joy there is to be had in grafting. The only pleasure I desire in this place is to expose and silence the foolish watchers, even as my outer layers wither and die. New layers bring rejuvenation and power. If only I could acquire one of them! What wonderful forms I could take! What everlasting bliss I could achieve! But to even consider it racks my flesh with pleasure! Causes my new mouths to sing with ecstasy! One day, I will consume all of it and offer myself to... It will awaken, and all apexes and nadirs shall meet from here till infinity. I'll be waiting, watching, consuming.
Before Egg says anything, I would like to go back to that moment I mentioned where you should master your own voice before you try to do other voices. I think if there was ever a recording that statement applied to, it would be this one. Now, on to you, Egg, whatever it is that you want to say.
Okay.
Do you need some time, Egg? Are you okay?
You can do it.
Should we send help?
If we go back to the previous recording, I very much meant it when I said that's exactly how I envisioned this, of a very calm character who had a slight moment of madness, but otherwise had a very nice and flat voice, and generally was very sane in what they did. This is not that. Now, I can kind of see what they may have been going for here. I get why the writing may have suggested that, but only in the middle of the text. I'm not...
Yep.
I can't say I really agree with how the different voice acting was done here. On both sides of it, so the regular speaking, quote unquote, and the
yes,
the other version. So the regular speaking, let's just go through that first. The echo sounded like they were recording in a cathedral. It was
way too much.
I'm fine with echo effects. Echo effects can work, but generally they need to be toned down just a little. Like, that was too much. I'm just going to say now, it was excessive. And oh dear me. Look, I do try and be nice about these things, but the monster voice, let's put it that way, was a bit rough around the edges. It didn't really fit very well, I'm afraid. And it was a bit grating to listen to. Now, maybe I should have made this a bit clearer of really how this one was done. And I did say, to be fair, I did say this was going to be a tricky one if anyone decided to do this. So I will give you the benefit of the doubt to some extent in that. But equally, it's not great, I'm afraid. To be fair, you did also do the longest voice submission out of anybody. You did try with the post-production, and you did put a lot of effort into it, so I'll give it that. But it didn't really click with me, I'm afraid.
It was a really good attempt. I think it was just a bit over the top.
Yeah.
I will say that the whole echo thing seems to be, for some reason, really common in a lot of like lower end voice acting things. When I used to receive auditions for the Nest of Horrors actual podcast, there was a lot of that, of people doing submissions for the auditions with a lot of over the top echo. I don't know what it is, why it is that people seem to think it's such a great idea. It's really not. With this one, it could have worked quite well, the echo, but if it was just trimmed down and barely noticeable, it would have just been so much better. It does kind of... I feel like it falls into the background a bit after you hear some of it. But especially at the start, when you first hear it, it's just really jarring, really just in your face and not all that pleasant to listen to. Like, I'd honestly just stay away from putting that much echo into things. Unless you are actually doing something where the characters are specifically in a abandoned tunnel, or as like Egg said, a cathedral. Like, if you're specifically going for that kind of scene, and the actual that's where you know the setting is fair enough. With something like this, where there isn't really indication of this being, someone in a big open cave, just stay away from putting that much echo on things. It doesn't help. If anything, it harms it. The voice, I understand what the idea here, and I think it would have just worked a lot better if it was just the one voice, like I've mentioned previously. Like, when you're doing voice acting, just use your own voice. There is no need to put on voices. Most of the time, it doesn't help anything. Again, if anything, it harms it, because a lot of the time the voice, if you're not comfortable with your own voice, then you trying to put on voices sounds fake. It sounds like you're putting it on, and you can hear that in the recording. It's obvious, and it's, again, jarring, and it's not very comfortable to listen to. And especially in this one, I think it's just really, really over the top. I like the idea. I mean, as like said, the idea maybe doesn't follow what the writing said, but I personally quite like the idea of just kind of this Terran personality, I guess, if you want to call it. But it was just done in such an over-the-top way that just almost spoils it. Yep. Skydus.
Interesting. I have quite a different. I had quite different thoughts.
Oh, good. Go on.
So I will first of all say my immediate thought was okay, Echo at the very start after the light. Okay, that was a little weird, and then it continued. It took me some time, but exactly as you mentioned, after some time I kind of got used to it, but it definitely was too strong. Like tone it down by at least 30%, if not more. I found that overall everything was a little too much. Like the growling voice was a little too strong. That felt a little jarring, and then going back to the normal voice was too big of a difference. I understand why they did it, and I will commend the transitions between the different voices. I was very impressed. I feel like in terms of voice acting, this was one of the strongest ones. Obviously, I cannot comment on how fitting it is because I didn't write this. So as Egg has said, he doesn't deem it that fitting. But if I disregard that, I think it was a very impressive showing of voice acting. There were, I think, there was at least one mispronunciation and one just wrong word. Overall, obviously, you want to make sure after you recorded that you listen back to it very carefully to make sure that you don't have such mistakes. But to be fair, if we compare to the other entries, this was by far the longest, and I only caught 2 mistakes. As I said, one mispronunciation and one just wrong word. But considering the length, that is still that is I guess forgivable, I would say. So I will say overall a little overdone in many regards, but I was still very impressed.
Yeah, the idea was there, but just tone it down a little.
Yeah. So okay. So yeah, I guess building on those two things, the general idea was there, and I imagine the original voice data before the post-production probably would have fit this better, to be honest. I know that sounds really crazy, but without the echo, without the extra layers on top of the growling voice,
yep,
it probably just would have actually fit a lot better. And let's say that Scott is right in a way. Just the transition between the two voices is okay. But once again, I think the whole thing was just a bit too overbearing. And also, I can understand why this was done from reading this. But equally, it just didn't end up fitting in the end. So yeah.
I will just...
go.
I will just say as my final words, it was a very interesting and strong showing of your capabilities as a voice actor, but I guess a director would help a lot with where to take this.
Yeah.
It's true. Let's say if I'd heard this and it'd been given to me, and then I give them feedback and it'd come back to me and back and forth, I feel like this as a baseline could have turned into something really good. And I know we didn't give the opportunity to do that exactly.
Challenge accepted.
Yeah. And maybe in future we will do that. Maybe we'll do a VA competition where we actually set a baseline. So we'll need a floor if you've done X amount of work, and we'll allow some actual directive work as well, where they send back to us and we give them some feedback, and there's several rounds of feedback, and then we present what that is at the end there. That could be an idea. Maybe when we're a bit bigger.
Me and Egg will do a director of fights. We'll just both get one of our better stories, get it narrated, and then have the community vote which one they like more.
Oh dear! Oh boy! Oh boy! Oh boy!
That's an idea.
Yeah, but yeah, that's one for the future. Yeah. Still, a lot of feedback on this one, but yeah. Should we move on to our final entry?
Oh, we shall. For my good friend Rob. The Rea CSR also done the post editing on this one as well. Just may I add.
All right. Yeah. Let's move on to the final one by EurasianRob.
Oh, how the twisted melody flows. Grasp our heart and crush the beat in the fractured dying throes. Feel the wrath of cursed heat. A line here and a line there, conjoined unnaturally, but with a stitch so neat and precise that only a master of my craft could ever hope to discern the weave. Few events in life are truly a disappointment, if you but put a little thought in how to turn them to your benefit. These assistants have done nothing but hinder my art in their imprecise actions. And yet, they still have come to serve a purpose. After all, if you cannot create art, then you may attempt to reach salvation by becoming art. Oh, what beautiful limbs, so lovingly sewn together. Lovers together even in death. This seraphim of my creation does naught but bring tears of joy to my eyes. What a noble cause to die for, my dear assistants. Our lips touch, sealed tight with gruesome wax, our fingers intertwined, sewn together with love. Our eyes lock, held fixated through these rods. Our hearts beat in time, still to the tune of the void. Finishing touches, finishing touches. Oh yes, this one requires more than most. Not that I intend to devalue the worth of my previous donations of canvas. One does not shun paper when given a single opportunity to carve into skin. However, it seems appropriate to appreciate these two as one. A strip of flesh here, a bone removed there. These are natural angles and align true perfection for my dear Seraphim, my unsoiled child. Oh, the joy you shall bring those who gaze upon your form. They will cry out in exuberant love for your flesh. Tears fallen, lost in the sands of time. Spirit mixed with spirit, distilled and caught. Never shall we touch again, my dear. The window is open. The window is open. The window is open. The window is open. The window is open? I don't understand. What are you trying to tell me? What? How? Is it him? Has he taken you? Or perhaps given you back? Oh, I see your eyes trying to move, to stare at me, to accuse me. You are art. You don't have a choice in the matter. No. Do you believe you can ruin what you have become? I think not. Art doesn't talk back. Art doesn't complain. Art doesn't move and flap its wings and deepen its kiss. Did you come back just to show your love for yourself, you twisted fiend? Sickening. Love. You like that word, don't you? You always did. You never took your duties seriously, always sneaking off to steal a kiss or gaze longingly at one another. Don't think I didn't notice. No. Nothing slips past me. I have a steady hand and a steady mind and a steady eye. My ears are sharp. Every sweet nothing you pass between you was another epitaph on your tomb, another nail in your hands. You will live out this twisted on life as art, and you will never again. The window is open.
Oh, I've expected nothing less from Rob.
Yeah. Wow.
I will chime in with one very quick thing that applies to this one and also the previous one that I forgot to mention. I felt like the S's were a little too pronounced. I think if you apply a de-esser, that might optimize it a little bit. But go ahead.
Wow.
Yeah.
Damn. I mean, once again, I'm just going to mirror what Teras said here. I expect nothing less from Rob. Him and
just for reference, Rob is one of like the longer time voice actors who spend a lot of time on the podcast, and I've heard a lot of some of his other work as well, and there's no surprise from what he's capable of. He's a very talented voice actor.
Yeah, I mean, this is fine chilling. Like, yeah, damn. Yep. There was one tiny mispronunciation, and that's literally it. Other than that,
Rea's done a really good job as well, doing all the sound effects and such.
Yeah,
and this is definitely a good example of how the reverb actually works. Like, this is, for reference, how a reverb should be done. It's just really subtle. It's just there in the background. You don't really, you notice it a little in the beginning, and it doesn't strike you jarringly.
Yeah, as well. Like, this is another one of those where if this were an actual like finished product for an audiobook version of this, I'd accept it straight away. The way that the emotions of the character are portrayed, the way the voice acting is done, the way that the very tricky transition between the poem that's embedded in this and the actual talking is done, and the fact that that's been understood so well as well is perfect. Like, I was actually sort of concerned if people were to pick this up and try it, that they wouldn't realize that this is actually two different pieces of text embedded in itself. But no, it's been done really, really well. I don't really know what to say. I love this. It's great.
I mean, even the children in the background are incredibly excited.
Oh yeah, they are. Yeah. Sorry. Once again, I've tried to mute myself as best I can, but obviously, when I'm actually talking, the mic's going to pick it up regardless.
It is so fitting, though.
Just the screams of endearment. Yes, yes.
Cheering for Rob.
Oh, I think this might actually be my favourite submission.
I think,
to be honest,
if we ever do any kind of more podcast stuff or audiobook stuff, I think Rob is definitely like up there on the list of people to contact.
Yeah. What an absolute legend, honestly.
Oh, fucking literal legend with just 2 legs.
Legend on legs.
Yeah.
Yeah, damn.
As long as he's not a corner end.
Okay, Skytis is very cool. Anything to add, Skytis?
Yeah. Not really. Not much.
Even Skytis has been left speechless.
Most of the things have been said, so I'm not going to repeat them. I did notice in was it in one of the poems? I don't remember, where he was talking about the flesh and the bones with the very subtle background noise.
Oh yeah.
Like the where you could hear the skin being cut and then bone, like especially like it was like, what was it, some skin here and then you hear it on the left and then bone there and you hear it like in the middle / to the right, like these really subtle touches in post processing, and of course the very subtle echo that really added to it without being distracting, overbearing or anything. That was really just the right amount. And yeah, the acting was just, it conveyed everything that it needed to convey, all the emotions and everything of the character. That was just some really, really good voice acting, I would say.
Yep.
Yeah. Love that one a lot.
Yep.
Right, so that was the last submission. I'm just going to wrap up for the people that are here. The VOD will be available at some point. I think Skytis is going to help us out with YouTube stuff as well. I don't know if Teras has actually discussed it with that or not, but
it's fine. We'll beat Skytis into submission and get him to.
Oh yeah.
So no, I'm not submitting. I'm not a voice actor. What do you mean? Don't beat me into submission.
Oh no!
Actually, fucking shut.
But no,
we're gonna. This will be exported to YouTube, and there'll be timestamps, and no rush on Skytis's part. He's just kind of been dragged into this by force. So it might not be right away, but at some point it will be out, and then we'll post it alongside in the competition info channel, and then you can go back and re-listen to all of them and stuff and things. Yeah, it'll just all be there. So
yeah,
I would also
eventually. So no rush.
I would also say to anyone that is listening to this ending bit, if you submit it and you listen to the feedback to yours, maybe also if you want to be serious about voice acting, maybe also listen to the other ones and to their feedback, because it might also apply to you in some way, and you might just learn from other people's mistakes. So definitely consider listening to more than just your own submission.
One thing I will also say, one thing related to that, and a couple of admin bits as well. If you have questions about voice acting, Teras is very, very knowledgeable. Ask him in our server. If you're not in the server, feel free to join. !NOH in the chat gives you the link, or if you want to go there directly, discord.gg/horrors.
It will also be in the video description.
Just as a disclaimer, I'm not a voice actor myself, but I have done immense amount of research towards it, and I've been hosting a podcast for a long while, so I've heard mountains of both good and bad voice acting, so it's kind of hard not to listen to such amounts of it and not pick up a thing or two, and I'm always glad to obviously help people improve. So yeah.
And regarding the competition itself, how long are we leaving this up for, Teras? I think we're going to leave the voting up for a week. To give everybody a chance to actually have a go through, and if they're busy now, they won't be forced to right away, etc. I'm doing the voting a little bit differently. Everybody gets 2 votes, so you can vote for 2 different people. And what this essentially means is that you won't just have all of the people, all of the votes being polled up on like 1 or 2 people. It will actually be spread out a bit. So yeah, you don't have to vote for 2 people, but you can if you want. The poll won't let you vote for more than 2. If you put in a 3rd one, it will remove your first one. Just be aware of that. Don't try and cheat the system. We've put in place a system wherein anybody who was in the server prior to this can vote. Anybody who's joined from the start of this stream onwards won't be able to vote, and that's purely so people can't make new accounts to come in and vote. As it stands. If you are joining us new and you've just found this on Twitch, thank you for listening. But once again, like I say, the rules are there, so we can't have vote manipulation. I don't imagine we would, but it's one of those things. But if you do join us now,
better saved than sorry.
Yeah. I mean, if you join us now, you'll be there for future competitions.
Yeah, probably more mention again. If you're one of the people that precipitate egg, please help.
Participated.
If you participated in the voice acting competition, you won't be able to vote as well.
Thank you.
And the way we're doing this as well, you will be able to put votes on the thing, but they'll be removed. This is purely so people can't vote for themselves and they can't vote for each other, because I'll say this now, we do have certain members of this competition that know each other very well, and they'd probably definitely vote for each other. And I'm not calling them out or anything, and I'm not even going to say their names, but yeah, we basically just want to keep it as clean as possible. So yeah. I think that's all the admin stuff. The channel will appear in a second and everyone will be able to see it on the server. We'll probably do a little ping in the announcements as well, so everybody knows they can vote. We'll also put the link to the VOD/YouTube video with timestamps when it's done up in the same channel, so people can look through and they can see our feedback, they can listen to the original files. The submissions themselves are going to stay up in the submissions channel. You won't be able to post it there anymore, but you'll still be able to go through and actually click play and listen to them if you really want to. So you could do it in a lot of different ways. It'd be granular. And yeah, I think that's about it. You can still post in the general submissions voice chat in there if you want to ask some questions. And we were kind of discussing what we were going to do, and I think what we're going to do is we're going to take the 4 top people that get the most votes, and then we're going to have another round, and the winners of that will then get to split the prize pool between them. But yeah, like I say, we're going to do voting for a week, and then we'll announce details of the next stage of the competition. I say we'll let everybody who participated know, and yeah, we'll go forward from there.
Yep.
Right.
All right. Anything else you want that's in the board?
I think that's about it. Yeah, let's say we're not just a voice acting server as well. we host a lot of artists. We do other events too. I think this might be one of the first voice acting ones we've done. We might have done no, we did one more in the past, but yeah,
we did an art one as well. So
yeah, we do all sorts of bits, and yeah,
we'll probably have some. Next one might be a writing one at some point. So we kind of try to involve all kind of members of the community as much as we can. As much as we might be lazy and not do as often as we'd like, we do try.
Yeah. I say we've got a fairly big commission space as well. There's a lot of artists there post their commissions. It's quite serious. We don't let people post silly stuff in the commission, so it's very business-like there. People tend to appreciate that a lot as well. And yeah, we got quite an active community in a general chat as well, and people are always willing to talk and mess about, post some nice memes, very dank. Excellent memes.
We have a stam.
Oh, we do have a stam, yes. We're not going to explain what that is. You can find out for yourself.
Yeah, you gotta love stam.
All right.
I think that's it, really. So you subscribe to Skytus. He's been excellent hosting us, putting up with us for over 2 hours now. So
yeah. I think that's probably we should probably have a bit more of a mention to Skytus. He does a lot of speedrunning stuff, and me and Skytus also regularly do Bible readings, which sounds really ridiculous, but it's kind of funny to watch. And Skytus occasionally does playthroughs of other games as well. So he's fun. He's got his own Discord as well that I'm sure there's a command for, or probably if you just scroll down.
You can find it anywhere on my everything.
He's got it everywhere. He's a fun person.
If you like the terrible puns, and I'm telling you, I held back during this a lot. If you like terrible puns, you will love my stream. Or if you just like absolute tech and streaming nerdiness, because that's what I do. That's why I'm hosting this, because I'm the tech nerd when it comes to Twitch stuff.
Alright, well, I think that's about it from me. Any finishing thoughts from you guys?
No, that sounds about right. For a lot of people join in the past hour. Very interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Well, then that'll be it.
Yeah. Have fun.
Yeah.
Don't do drugs, or do I'm not a policeman.
He certainly isn't.
All right. Let me throw on my outro. Let's go back to casual mode. For those of you that are here for the voice acting competition, as I said, or as has been said, I'm not involved with voice acting. I'm just more serious than just casual streamer. I'm not a full-time streamer or anything, but I take it relatively seriously. If you're interested in gameplay, speedruns, or nerdiness, or shitty puns, I'm sure you know how to find me. I mean, you found the stream or the VOD, and there will be links. You'll find stuff. And for those of you that are here because you already have been following me, if you don't know already, Nest of Horrors, as has been said. If you want a Discord to hang out for some casual chatter, if you want to do commission stuff or voice acting, or you're interested in horror or writing, that's your place to go. I think everything else has really been said. So yeah, I will just say tomorrow the usual scheduled Monday stream, which is Diablo 3D. After that, the next Monday, hopefully, will be Return to Monkey Island. I don't know when it's coming out. It's coming out on the 19th. I just don't know at what time of day, but if it's out by the time that my stream starts, that Monday we will be doing Return to Monkey Island. That will be on Mondays until I finish it, and then we will be going back to Diablo 3D. And Saturdays, as usual, either Left 4 Dead 2 speedruns or Bibling. It comes down to Terrace's mental state, availability, and the availability of our guests. You know what? We're gonna raid Tanker because he's streaming. Oh yeah, right, I can't raid from here. God damn, I'm a professional, I promise. So I hope this was insightful, even to those of you that didn't join because they participated in the competition. You know, maybe you learned a thing or two about voice acting. We're raiding Tanker, he's doing Diablo 1 speedruns. I'm pretty sure everybody knows him by now. He always has terrible puns in his titles, so you'll enjoy your stay over there. And he's actually good at Diablo 1 speedruns, so Enjoy the rest of your Sunday and hope to see you tomorrow.